My name is DG, Derald Gray, and my company is DG Visionaries LLC, and you're watching What's Your Hustle podcast.
What's your hustle? What do you do? Here to bring money and attention to you. A lot of people want to know, you got to give them the truth. Here to run the numbers up, we about to go through the roof. What's your hustle? What's your hustle? Here to talk about your grind, how you spend your time. We done brought you to the show, you gotta speak what's on your mind. What's your hustle? What's your hustle? What's your hustle? What's your hustle? Yeah.
So we got my man Derald Gray here on the show with DG Visionaries. And this man is by far one of the dopest individuals I ever met. My mentor from over at J2 Marketing said, hey, I got this guy that I need you to meet. And he kind of left it at there. And if anybody has a mentor, you already know your mentor says, I have somebody for you to meet. You don't ask no questions. You just show up. So here we are, brother. Man, let's go.
Let's go.
Look, so check this out. I remember when we first linked up, you said something that kind of blew my mind. You was like, you started your company, and you made $100,000 within like the first year or two, and that just blew my mind. So let's talk about that. Like, how did it feel to make your first $100,000 in business?
My first $100,000, honestly. And first off, thank you so much for the dope intro, man. I've definitely been inspired by you. So thankful that we got the opportunity to meet up a while back. And just one of the things that Hugh, kind of going back to that story, told me as far as, why I should come and meet you, Cory, is because he said that you guys are unicorns. You guys have your own ambitions. You guys are entrepreneurial in spirit, and you guys kind of see things that other people may not be able to see, and kind of have that ambition and kind of that rare foresight into manifesting your dreams and kind of, pursuing things that's bigger than what the ordinary person is, kind of committed to in life. So that was one of the things that made me want to be in that room, and so glad we got the chance to meet that day. And honestly, yes. So I started DG Visionaries in January 2020. Like you said, it was no cap. Our business from January this year, 2021 to currently has made over 6 figures in revenue. And my answer to that question is the $100,000 felt exactly the same as my first. And it's just every single day commitment to turning business into reality, which is why I started DG Visionaries. It's all about making somebody vision come true, regardless if it's their wedding day, it's a corporate vision and video production that they want for them. My job is to hear their story, take their message, and what do they want to see come to light, use my talents, my tools, my expertise to make that happen. And I think that's the reason we were able to go from 1 sale to 2 to 3 to now, our company is just shy of over, actually, if we count video and DJ clients and couples that have booked with us, over 100 clients that we worked with in a matter of, just over a year. So under 700 days, I'd say. Our second year would be actually January 2022. Year 2, because I started this company as a New Year's resolution to myself. 2019, I said, we're going to get my LLC in January. We're going to get this business started. We're going to do bridal shows and other events and network, get our website. And once you got that drive, you commit to it every day, 80 plus hours, it just kind of happened. And that's just been on that path. So, couldn't stop and pat myself on the back. Most businesses don't make it past 5 years. So I'm just trying to make it to the next day and the next day. I can only go as far as my latest booking would take me.
All right, so you seem real big when it comes to setting goals. Why is that important for you?
Setting goals is important to me because if you don't set your own goals, somebody else will set your goals for you, whether you know it or not. I believe in living your life day by day with a purpose and not kind of just floating through it, letting it pass you and letting things go by as they may. There's things and visions that I have for myself, not only personally, but professionally, that I want to hit. And I know that if I don't commit to setting goals and taking the calibrated steps every single day to hit those, I won't be able to make it to where I know I can be. Because in my mind, if I'm not setting goals and trying to think of new ways to improve and grow myself personally, then I'm doing a disservice to all of my clientele, who I call family, and the visionaries who work with me. Because if I call the people who work with me, my contractors, if I want to call them visionaries and hold them to a higher standard whenever they come on to the team and help us out, then I know I got to do that very same for myself as well.
So, how important is it to build a team, or how has having a team been beneficial in shaping your company?
Yeah, having a team is super beneficial to shaping. I mean, this is something that we were talking about before the camera started rolling, just as you were finishing setting up. And one of the things that you just really helped me realize is, I'll be honest, I told Cory, I'm walking in this building today, excited about the interview. I said, I just feel very self-made. And when you kind of made me realize that it's about God, it's about the people around you, I had to take a step back and say, you know what, it is that way. I think having a team is super important because, and I'm gonna attribute this to you, because within 15 minutes you already put me on to a lot of game. And one of the biggest things that you said that really hit home was every person who made $100 million didn't get to that point without having people along the way on the team, whether they're behind them, in front of them, left side, right side of them, that are also, even if they are millionaires, they definitely got a piece of that and help them get to that point. So I believe in having a team. Not only because it allows the business to grow, to take on more clientele, to take on more work, to get the most benefit out of 24 hours a day that we're all, bound to, but having a team also gives me a reason to kind of motivate the next person and help them achieve their vision. Because every person that works for me, I call you a visionary, because not only are you helping me turn my client's vision into reality, which in turn is helping my vision as far as DG Visionaries, but I also want you to take these skills and these connections and use and kind of use that insight to help you personally and professionally grow in order to achieve your vision. And so, kind of circling back to the team, I'll just tell you straight up, honestly, part of what I do, I'm a wedding DJ and also I'm a videographer. I think I'm just super skilled at both of those things. I don't know which one I love more at this point. And if I DJ a wedding, then I'm completely committed to doing that one task that one day. And knowing that a lot of couples also want me to do video for their weddings, they're like, man, I wish you had two of yourselves so we can get both at once. Being able to open up the doors to other videographers so they can come in, they can get some portfolio work in, they can learn something from me, I can learn something from them. And together, I feel like video production is one of those art forms that's made for teamwork and collaboration. And music, brings people together. And so that's the basis of what we do. So to say that, I'm trying to do everything myself, there's only so far before I hit a ceiling, and just want to be able to not only keep raising the bar, but raise the bar of the people who I have alongside on the team. So shout out to Trey. Trey Collins is one of the DJs who's worked with DG Visionaries with me for a while now, over a year. Noah Wright's another DJ who's been with me since February of 2020. And because of those two guys, we managed to, do many weddings that I couldn't have done just myself. And also, John Trayvon's a great videographer who's worked with me, man, since like 2015, 2016 years now. And a couple other videographers and DJs I worked with, judge it to my mind and not my heart. But those guys have been with me the longest. And, anybody else who's willing to be part of the journey, it's all about just having that conversation and seeing where things go and if it'll be a right fit.
How scary was it for you to start building a team? Because when you start off by yourself and you could just, I can't say for nobody else. I could just say for me, it's like, man, you want things done a certain way, and sometimes it's just a little hard to just start relinquishing control to other people. So how did you go about doing that in the beginning days?
And that's a great question. And My answer to that is just being involved with every part of the process. I know that part of being a successful, leader in general is being able to, like you mentioned, relinquish control and let other people kind of put their own mindset, their own skills to work without having you micromanage them. And kind of what I do in order to kind of I realize what people's strengths are, play off of their strengths, and try to work with the people who are best in the given task that I hire them to do. So in the case of the videographers, I'm not working with somebody that's straight out of high school that's, wants to get some portfolio, some work under their belt. I want to work with somebody who shot weddings before, somebody who maybe they've never done a wedding, but they've done other corporate work, music videos, and, basically someone with experience. I think that it's fair to pay somebody more percentage of that project based on their experience, because that's just going to give them the better product for your client. And as far as the DJ side, which I do both, and so I kind of just shift the conversation thinking about the two. But that also plays on their strengths, because I do all of the coordinating for the wedding. Hey, are you free this day? Book it. And then I come up with the playlist, I come up with the timeline. So all, the DJ has to do is essentially come in, set up, and we train this. We train on how to do that and use their talents and skills to mix their music. I give them the playlist and I give them the songs, but it's their job to use creativity to mix the songs wherever they see fit. So that's basically what I do. And when the videos are shot, I like to do the editing hands-on, just because, I enjoy editing. It's kind of like playing a video game for me, and being able to have someone shoot it and have just such a good eye for what shots to use, and then me being able to just cook it in a kitchen and let that client know that, hey, DG is still going to have a personal touch on this film. Everything I deliver at the end of the day, at this point in the business, I just, always just got a hand in it. So that's how I do it.
Let's go back to the beginning before you actually even started your own company. What were you doing? What was life like for you?
Yeah, so man, I feel like my life continuously began to pick up and progress to the point where I tell people nowadays, where did it start when you get into videography? I tell people that videography, video production chose me, because I started doing that in middle school. And without giving y'all a whole, 10-minute long origin story, I stuck with doing video production, music videos, and class projects. Went to Ball State. And at Ball State, I started DJing because there was a lot of parties going around in campus. I was always, going to where the music was, and where's, people who are being social, and the artists and the creators, where are they doing? What are they up to? And I just found myself in those little networks, started DJing. And during the daytime, Monday through Friday in class, studying video production. And after I graduated, I just hit the ground running, started putting two to two together. I worked for a company that was a mobile DJ business, and shout out to John Wheeler at that company. Really put me on game. He saw the talent in me and showed me how to mix music, showed me how to DJ weddings specifically, all based on the experience I had as a videographer. And he said, if you can shoot a video, edit a video, you got rhythm, and you're fresh with the hottest music, and classics as well. We think we can just, based off of that skill set, we'll teach you to put everything together and become a DJ. So that really showed me what it was like to work with a quote unquote solo entrepreneur, someone who started a business, did most of it himself, but he also had a team around him. And I was blessed to be a part of that, so I can see what it was like to work in a real team environment that was, not a big corporation, but local, and something that I love to do. So after that company was sold, I graduated from college. I DJ'd here and there through other companies, but once I started working at the news station after college, I realized that maybe the 9-to-5 lifestyle wasn't for me. And I didn't really get that feeling until doing the job for well over a year. I love shooting videos every day, working at the news station, and, being a part of that crew and documentation and telling stories and being a photojournalist. But I just always felt like I had a bigger calling out there for me, and I always felt like even if I decided to make the jump and work for myself, that it would work out at the end of the day, just based off of the skills and talents that, I feel like I had and I was blessed with. So that goes back into working 80 hours a week. I would work at the news station, work on my business plan. This is around 2018, 2019. And I formed DG Visionaries officially in 2020 and been doing it full time since August of 2020. Because it only took 6 months from starting the business till my contract, 2-year contract ended at the news station for me to say, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and do this full time.
Why do you feel like you're so successful? Like, what is it that you do compared to, let's say, your competitors?
I feel like what makes me successful compared to my competitors is the fact that I would completely do this for free if I could keep a roof over my head doing so. I think I'm successful because I just am passionate and love what I do, period. I know that not only am I good at it, people say I'm good at it, and I enjoy doing the work. And if there's something that I'm good at, enjoy doing it, and couples, clients come to me, often and want me to work with them, then that just tells me I'm on the right path. So I just say I'm blessed, and it's not like I have all the answers at the end of the day. I just keep doing what I think feels right, keep on trying to over deliver, raise the bar, and stand out. And it's just the word of mouth kind of just snowballs from there. I just think I'm one of the hottest DJs out, even though most people know me for videography, because not only am I mixing music and trying to tell a story through the songs in the order in which I play them, but also I'm emceeing, I'm making people feel welcome, being vocal on the microphone. And as if those two weren't enough, I know how to plan your wedding and do that easily. And I'm also, at the end of the day, I'm on the dance floor with you. Like, I'll dance, bust a few moves out, I'll go back, mix the song, get you in the mix, bust the move out, make the transition, and then just keep rotating it from there. And I think the culmination of everything we deliver, like at the end of the day, people are speechless. They're like, you live mix, you were dancing with us, you were emceeing, like, what's going on here? Like, this is great. So I just want to just keep over delivering and doing more things than the average person or the average DJ or videographer would have to do for their role.
Like technology and trends and different things is like constantly just changing. So how do you stay informed as to what's going on?
I stay informed of what's going on through YouTube University, my favorite website. So, shout out to YouTube. Honestly, I'm committed to learning every single day. And if you're committed to learning every single day, then naturally, when new waves, new trends, new things start to circulate in your field, you're going to catch on to that. You're going to catch an ear to it. I think being open to new ideas, working with other people, and also just being willing to learn and continue to, some people do it quarterly, some people do it yearly, some people do it, weekly, if not more than that. But it's all about how can I bring more to the table as far as what I offer. Because if you're using the same camera for 5+ years, eventually your competitors, even though they don't got as much experience, their videos might just start looking cleaner because they're using the latest technology, you know what I'm saying? So it's all about buying quality equipment if you do want to do things professionally, things that are going to last a while, things that don't deteriorate quickly in value, so they last. And even after you're ready to move on to the next big piece of equipment, you're able to just sell it and give it in somebody else's hands who might be next up, and give them an opportunity to do what you do. So when it comes to the latest trend and latest things, I just say just keep updated. Make sure that you're always a student of the game. Follow your favorite videographers, follow your favorite DJs, watch some podcast videos, and listen to some podcast ones like this one right here with Faith Hustle Media Group, and you're able to just kind of catch on to what's latest in not only your field, but entrepreneurialism in general. Because what entrepreneurship is the culmination of many different fields. One day you're an accountant, not even one day, 1 hour you're accountant, the next hour you're doing your own marketing, and then the next hour you're actually editing. And doing the hands-on work, and then the next hour, you know, you're going grocery shopping, laundry, then it's back to the computer, sending emails. So making sure that you always stay fluid, learn new things, because the key to really leveling up and bringing something new and fresh to the table is when you're so open-minded and you're able to just combine and take one idea, put it with the other, and just kind of create something new with that. So I mean, it's all about just staying hungry and just committed to the work.
Man, you just mentioned that 1 minute you could be essentially throwing in some laundry, 1 minute you could be an accountant. Yeah. So it's like, man, how do you balance all of those different hats that you wear within your company?
Exactly. You're able to balance it if you let it's called eustress, you know, the opposite is stress. It can be stressful if you're thinking about it all the time, but if you let that stress motivate you and you're willing to just break down your day and realize what you're doing and why you're doing it, it actually makes those tasks a lot easier to maintain. So, and you don't have to do this all in your head, right? There's, like you mentioned, technology. There's different things out there that you can use and take advantage of to help you minimize the number of work you're doing. So in my mind, you know, a lot of the stuff that I do, I just try to automate it. Like all I have to do is post. If I'm doing marketing, post one post on Instagram, it's going to automatically send itself to other social networks. If I use my business card to make a transaction, it automatically goes to QuickBooks. All I have to do is just match those transactions, make sure everything is in the right folder in there. And so, yeah, you just asked me, what was the question again? Because I started thinking about a bunch of other things. How do you do it? Also, okay, I remembered if I trained of thought. You can use apps, like everything that's important, make sure you put that in Google Calendar. So thank you, Cory, for sending me this Calendarly invite, you know, keeping that organized, and even if you got to do it old-fashioned, write a to-do list by hand. There's reminder apps. So Cory just saw me. He just mentioned one little thing, right? Like check out and seeing, doing some research and see about becoming a certified minority-owned business. I would have forgot about that if I didn't just, you know, tell my calendar app and my watch, hey, set a reminder to look into this, right? So there's little things you can do. I just say write it down, take a note of it, because things you write down, you see, you're able to visualize, is things that you can, you know, you can make happen. You can manifest it if you're just willing to just put it into focus, get tunnel vision about it.
That was some good stuff, because I promise you I was gonna ask you about apps, and that was like you went right into that. So that was actually perfect. What's the best part about being an entrepreneur to you?
My favorite part about being an entrepreneur is sleeping in and not really having to set an alarm clock. Send your own hours, really. Being an entrepreneur, it's not like every single day I'm able to go to the beach, 4-hour work week. That's really not the way that I see it, because I'm still putting in a lot of hours. But my favorite part is the flexibility to set your own schedule and not be bound to it. Some people enjoy knowing that they're going to work for this amount of hours, chill for this amount of hours, and do things that way. But I just kind of like having my days and calendars vary depending on what project is coming up, what am I doing, who am I meeting up with, and whether or not, I'm doing a wedding, I'm doing a video. I think my favorite part about being an entrepreneur is really being able to live life, in a direction that you want to build for yourself while doing the things that you love and enjoy doing. Some people have jobs that they work at that, they're making a good amount of money from, but they just don't enjoy the work. Being able to say you're able to make a living from it, you're making profit with it, and you enjoy the work, and you can sleep in and stay up late, there's nothing like it. So there's a million things I enjoy about it that in return make all the work involved worthwhile.
What's an average day for you like?
So if you want to know what an average day is like for DG, I'll probably wake up around 11:30, 11:45. I try to get myself up before noon. I don't want to build a habit of sleeping after noon. After I wake up, I immediately just, stretch out, chill for a little bit, have some solo time, maybe meditating, and just, gathering my thoughts for the day. And then I just open up the computer. And if I'm lucky, somebody say, hey, are you free this day to do my wedding? Are you free this day to shoot this video? I'm replying to different emails, scheduling different meetings if people want to talk more about my services, if people want to possibly link up at some point just to talk about collaborating, things like that. If I can get somebody and start my day with making a connection with somebody, setting up a meeting with somebody, then I think that day is successful. Then after I kind of do some computer work for a little bit, I may have like if it's a Saturday, then I'll probably have a wedding that day. So I'll get up, I'll send my emails, I'll get ready, I'll shut down the wedding. But if it's like a Monday through Friday, a typical boring weekday, I would call it, after I finish those emails, I'll, grab a coffee and probably have a meeting. I'm doing some nonprofit work right now. So I'm part of the Leadership Academy in Elkhart. So one of the things I encourage every business owner to do in your city, just be a part of the Chamber of Commerce, because that can just open you up to different events, ways to network. So I joined the Leadership Academy, which essentially is a program that spans the course of 9 months, and they just put different business leaders in the same program, and we just learn about leadership, learn about our personality traits, what makes us better leaders, what makes us tick, how to work with others when tensions arrive, and also working together in a group of 7 peers in the program to volunteer and help a nonprofit. So we're helping the DWVAC, which is a program that is helping victims who have been in domestic abuse. Maybe they've been in a crime, they've been related in some kind of accident, and after you call, the officials, what do you do after that, And so they're not counseling services, but what they do is they put you in contact with the right services to help you out with what you're going through. So I meet with them. I may be meeting with the committee because I'm part of the Towson External Communications Committee, which is Towson is a youth center. Well, not a youth center. It's a community center in Elkhart. And so I used to go there as a kid growing up. Just different ways to give back to my city. So different meetings, I say, really structure a lot of the day, things like that. And then I definitely just go to the gym too. I encourage everybody to just get right in mind, body, and spirit. And the body part of that definitely comes with just trying to stay fit. So I definitely try to go to the gym, an hour minimum in, run a few miles, push a few weights, and then, get in, get out. And while I'm there, I'm usually listening to a podcast, listening to my favorites, like How I Built This, listening to On Purpose with Jay Shetty. I was about to say How I Built This again because it's that good. And also The School of Greatness. Those are, my favorite ones. And so Hidden Brain, another good podcast. I really just try to stimulate my mind. And as a DJ, I usually on the way there or maybe on the way back, just listening to music, listening to songs. And man, I could keep going because I feel like I squeeze in a lot of things in the day, but most of it is like I'm on my computer and running plays. I may be editing a project. I may be putting a playlist together for a wedding that's coming up, and just trying to make it happen. Every single day is something new, and I think that's one of the most exciting parts about it. Even though my days are very different and you never know exactly what I may be doing on a random day, I can also easily tell you what I'm going to do on like July 18th, 2022, because, I booked the wedding that day. I know what I'm going to be doing on November 23rd, 2023, because I booked the wedding on that day. So, there's days that I know for sure that I plan around and plan for, but all the different days in between could be something new depending on what's going on currently.
Man, you definitely make sure you get the most out of your day.
I try to. Yeah, I'll be honest, one of the trade-offs for that is like I'm just super behind on like the latest shows. I try to watch the movies when I can, but honestly I haven't, really spent too many hours just watching. Even though I love movies and TV shows, most of my time is just spent, trying to build myself and build these relationships and just build the business.
What's some of the ways that you go about like building yourself? Like you already talked about, the different podcasts that you enjoy listening to. You already talked about like working out and going to the gym. You already talked about meditation. Yeah. So what else is it that you do to keep yourself built up?
I definitely just read the Bible every now and then, not as often as I believe I could be doing, but at the end of the day, I definitely just try to keep myself motivated mentally, knowing that there's a higher purpose and there's a reason that, that I'm able to enjoy the life that I have, but at the same time, I think it's on purpose, and that purpose is to just keep spreading, these gifts with as many people as possible. Because the reason why my mission and my motto is turning business into reality is because I believe, everybody has a story and something that they want to see and bring to the table. And I feel like if I'm put in these positions with these different people, as far as, for the greater good, I want to help that person or help, the next person really transform and make that a reality. So obviously I can't just see somebody and make them a millionaire just by the snap of my finger. But if there's little things that I can bring to the table as far as a video that's going to help them make it to that next point, DJ services is going to help them have a wedding day that they've always dreamed about, or, any of the other things I'm able to do and collaborate with people with, that's something that just keeps me going. And I feel like every step along the way, I'm just trying to, what can I do to get myself in more positions to do those things?
How do you go about cultivating your business relationships, and why is that important?
Yeah, man, that's super, super important. And I think one of the biggest things to really think about is in business, especially when you're small and maybe you're locally operated, is always about the local business community and helping those who are in your field and collaboration, because I believe that the sum of two great thinkers or many different people is greater than, individually. And that's super important. And I bring that up, and I'm so glad that you did, is because one of the big things that helps me get projects, and I'm thinking specifically about weddings right now, is working with other wedding videographers, other wedding photographers, and being able to help each other out. And if I like their work and they really like the work that I put out, then they're going to tell their future clients about it. They might be like, hey, someone's looking for a videographer or DJ. I know somebody that I've worked with. And I am super big about collecting reviews. Every single project that I take on, I will send, the client, after it's done, a little follow-up asking if they mind dropping a Google review, dropping a review on, Wedding Wire, different websites that I use, because other people see that. And it's important because at the end of the day, your reviews, your business relationships, the way you treat people, the way that your business operates, all boils into your reputation. And your reputation is something that precedes you, and that's something that's either going to make you stand out before you even say a word, or something that's either going to make people run away before you even give them an opportunity to showcase who you really are. And that's a combination of your online presence, your presence when you're doing the work, your presence when, honestly, this is something I learned from my dad, but who you are, when nobody's watching, it's really your true self, and really what you should take the most time to commit to your passions and instincts and, your pursuits. Because what you do when you're alone is something that when you're with other people really can have a greater impact if you're willing to put in those extra hours.
How important is education when it comes to being an entrepreneur? Like, do you feel like you would be less ahead if you had not went to college or got that mentorship? Talk a little bit about that.
Even if you don't go to higher education or anything like that, I still believe that it's a personal choice. And I think that I wouldn't really push, even though I did it, I wouldn't say you have to, but if you don't do that, then you have to be willing to go 110 times harder at your craft, because you're already a step behind the people who do have those degrees. And if your work stands out more than the work than the people produced in school, which I'll be honest, the schools will give you the steps, they'll give you the tips and the know-how, but they ain't going to shoot and edit your video for you and put your name on it for the credit. So you also have to be willing to put in the work. And if you don't go to school, be willing to learn off YouTube and try to come up with your own, unique style. And if you just really practice your craft day in and day out, because I know people who went to school for one thing, but after I know a lot of people actually who went to school for one thing, they graduate, they go and do something else. So if you're willing to, if you don't go to school, higher education, spend a lot of hours into your field, what you want to do. And I think the biggest thing is figuring out what you want to do. And if you do have a feeling, go for it. And if you realize you don't like it, you know, you can always just move into another lane and try out new things. But I think dedicating yourself to your business and your own personal growth can take you a long way.
Let's say somebody's watching this and they have a similar story to yours, and they want to take that leap of faith, that jump, to become a full-time entrepreneur. Like they had a mentor, they had some experiences just like you, but they're on the fence about quitting and becoming a full-time entrepreneur. What would you tell them?
I'll tell you that if you really want to make the journey and become a full-time entrepreneur, at least see if you can handle being a part-time entrepreneur and doing your business while still maintaining your full-time job. At the end of the day, I recommend not going and doing it full-time until your passion, your business becomes more time-consuming than what you're already doing on top of your regular, let's say 40-hour work week. And I remember this point specifically because there were towards the end of my tenure at the news station, I used to kind of get called out like, Derald, you can't be bring your laptop, bringing all this outside work into the news station, because I'll be working there trying to edit other people's videos while at the other hand trying to edit up the news segment that's coming up at 5 o'clock. And so when you realize you get to the point where you got clientele, right? You don't want to leave your full-time job. Allows at least having one person who wants to hire you for your work, right? I'll put it this way. I wouldn't leave your full-time job until you set a solid foundation. And what I see a foundation as being is enough savings to last you at least 6 months. So if you don't have any dime or money coming in for 6 months, you got something to pad you while you kind of figure it out and try to get that business booking. Another padding is just have a website, have an online presence, continue to make income from your full-time job, because you can use those funds to get yourself a website, a web presence, because that's how people will find you online, as opposed to just, hoping they come across you on social media. And speaking of which, get your social media sites right. So I encourage you, before making that leap, get your business LLC done, get the paperwork done, and all the legalities out of the way. Make sure that you're incorporated, that you're certified, that you filed your business entity report, because last thing you want to do is leave your job, go working for yourself, and then let's say it works out, you're making some money, and then maybe you don't save enough, and you pay in taxes, more than what you got in the bank account because you spent so much. Or maybe, you just get into legal trouble because you're taking the money, but you're not really reporting anything. You're doing it under the table, and now it's like he got no job and he got all this income. You don't want those problems. So I think by getting yourself to the point where the business is able to begin to slowly at first, but start to replace your current income, then you can kind of make that step. But I encourage every person, before making that leap, put in those 80 hours a week, see if you can handle it. And if you can't, then you won't handle running your own business full time, because there will be weeks that you will have to put in those numbers of hours.
What does it take to start up a business, like step by step, in regards to like doing DJing? Like somebody wants to start their own DJing business, like, and I know you may not want to give like all the sauce away, you know what I mean? But like, what's a good guide to get them start, like a good solid foundation?
Absolutely. A good solid foundation. The route that I took is I worked for another DJ company, so you'd be surprised. I'll be honest. I'll say it right here on camera. Like I'm like looking for another DJ. I guess I can put more focus on to really doing a deep search and really hiring. But yeah, I think reaching out to a company locally that's doing the kind of work that you want to do, and just ask to shadow them, because you'll be surprised how many people will say yes. Like I've had a few people, even a student from Elkhart Christian Academy, come shadow me at a wedding just because she was interested in what I did and wanted to do that for career day. So the first step is, the way that I did it, just work with, shadow, kind of see what it's like to be hands-on and kind of have that role. See if that's still something you're interested in. The next step that I did is I just filed for DG Visionaries LLC. So I first did it with the county clerk, in my case, which in Goshen. And then I eventually went online and I got an LLC, went through that process. Once you kind of get the paperwork and that foundation started, a website. So I built my own website with Wix. Definitely have a website online presence. And then once you got the website, you got your legal paperwork done, you got some social media followings, and you kind of got those pages set up. The next step is to put yourself in front of potential clients. And the way that I did that was at bridal shows. So got myself a poster, said DG Visionaries, went to the South Bend Bridal Show that was at the Century Center. And that was the first time that I put my business right there in front of people. I had brochures, I had business cards, and I had myself. And I remember it because it was like February of 2020. At that bridal show, I didn't have any DJ equipment, but I told people I was a DJ. This is what I did. This is what I do. And couples booked me, which is thankfully, 6+ months later. And I was able to take those deposits to buy the equipment, and from the equipment DJ their weddings, and from their weddings get word of mouth and 5-star reviews, and from that begin getting traction for the next wedding.
Man, that's a
blueprint. That's it. That's everything.
Like that's man, I don't know how to say it, but it's like that's kind of scary, risky. I don't know. It's like you pay your money to go to this bridal expo to get exposure for the wedding. Then you tell potential clients that you can do something, which you're capable of doing it, but you don't have the equipment. And then you turn around, convince them, they pay the deposit. You take that money, and then you go buy the equipment.
Exactly. That's straight up. That's what happened. Yeah.
Man, that's crazy. Talking about believing in yourself, you ever had a moment where you're like, man, I don't know, but knowing you probably seen like, man, I always believed in myself.
I always believe in myself, but you know what? The moment that you say you don't know, it's the moments that things happen in the job that you don't see coming. Like, I just have, videos in particular that, maybe some projects, I don't know. I don't like the way I shot that. Man, if I could go back, or like, I don't know. Like, everyone had a good time, but I played a couple songs. So like, yeah, I could have went without. Maybe it was a little corny, but at the end of the day, I believe in believing in myself regardless of those situations, because in my mind, if I do, I will always have at least one person that believes in me. And if you don't believe in yourself, people will believe in you, whether you do or not, especially if you got those around you who, you trust, you've been around. There's always going to be somebody rooting for you on your team. But there are some times where you do doubt yourself. You don't get a 5-star review, and it's just the faith that the journey continues, and knowing that take this advice, take this feeling, and use this so you never have to feel like this again in the next round, and the next time it comes around.
What do you feel like's been better for you in regards to getting consistent business, like marketing and advertisement, word of mouth, referrals, or like a combination of like everything?
It's a combination. One of the apps that I use is HoneyBooks, and what's nice about HoneyBooks is you're able to put in the different ways so every time somebody reaches out, I put them in there, and it's like, how did they contact you? And so whenever I look at the graphs and reports, most people now just reach out to me from my website because they heard about me through, a friend. Maybe they seen me at a wedding, or they got my card from someone I DJ'd for. And I'm to the point now where I'm still like, I don't know if I want to, for the first time, do a bridal show next year, just based on the momentum that we've already got. And my feeling is if I'm so booked out, go to a bridal show and turn away half those couples from the bridal show because I'm already booked majority of that calendar year. So word of mouth definitely spread like wildfire. But before then, the most couples booked me because they saw me in person. They just saw the energy, they saw the passion, and it was based off of that they wanted to move forward. But I'm just super adamant about, regardless of where the person reaches out from, I would just try to set up a video call with them, just introduce myself, meet face to face, and really have a conversation. But you'd be surprised, because as your business starts to grow, get a reputation. I've now booked many weddings with couples who I have no idea what they look like. They reach out, we send emails, and they're booked just like that. And I meet them on their wedding day. And last week, I went up. I had a wedding last Friday. I went up and I said to one of the guys who was dressed nice. I thought he was one of the groomsmen. I said, "Hey, I'm Derald." He's like, "Hey, yeah, nice to meet you, Derald. Finally." And I was like, "Yeah, what's your name?" He's like, "My name's Mark. I'm the groom, man." I'm like, "Oh, Mark, that's what you look like." Well, you look a little different from Zoom. And in his case, he just talked on Zoom because I was just talking to his fiance the whole time. So I actually saw what he looked like. So I'm just big on just. That's what happens, as you start to get reputation. But I'm just big on just, I feel like when you're in the same room as a person, and nowadays, even if it's on Zoom and you're just having that conversation, it can really go a long way as far as securing that project.
When it comes to bridal expos, and for those who haven't been to those before, what's a checklist that that you should have together, before you go and spend all your money to be a part of this show, make sure that you got in line before you do that.
Exactly. So the first thing you need is something that the couple can take away from your booth after they talk to you. This can be a business card, a brochure. Those two are the big ones. I know before I had, when I worked for this other company, what they did is they had a squishy microphone that was also a business card, and they gave that to everybody. And so I thought that was a cool idea. I didn't do it because I didn't want to jack their style, but just something that they know, okay, how do we follow up, right? Because you talk to somebody, but if they can't follow up, you don't got a website, you don't give them your number, you forget to give them your email, you out. So give them something to take with you, right? Have that conversation with them. And if they're interested, be sure to have a contact sheet so you can reach back out. Like the bridal expos, that's one of their selling points. They're going to give you a contact list at the end of the night. But it's this long. You don't want to waste your time reaching out to people who haven't even talked to you or are not interested. So if they're interested, get their info so you can send them a personal "thank you for talking to me" follow-up email. Those, if you got those two things, you can walk up in a bridal show, have nothing behind you, and everything else just enhances that experience. And so now when I bring to bridal shows, those are the big ones. I bring in a TV screen. On the TV screen, I will show a wedding video that I shot. So they see the wedding video. They're like, "Oh, okay, this is what y'all working with." Okay, I bring the camera, all my equipment, just bring it, set it up. So they see you're legit. I bring a camera. I brought my turntables and my speaker. I literally mixed at a wedding expo, just because, I want to show them everything we were working with and how compact and mobile it really was. So you bring that, you bring your pitch, and your pitch is who you are, what's your business, and why should they book you. Bring those things, and you'd be surprised by how far you go.
What books have you read that you feel really impacted you in regards to being an entrepreneur?
Yeah. So this is a good question, man. I'm always reading new books, trying to absorb information. And I want to get back into reading more books because I think podcasts are taking up a lot of my leisure time now. But my biggest book that I read a while back, and this was the book that made my 2020 resolution to start my business. And it's called The E-Myth Revisited. And that book is all about, okay, if you want to be an entrepreneur, it's going to tell you all the reasons your business is going to fail. And reading that is at the beginning, you're like, okay, I see all the reasons why it's going to fail. But then it takes all those reasons, breaks down how to avoid those pitfalls and actually succeed. So it shows you, because that's what happened, right? You go in your business, you think you're good, and then it could fall flat. That one actually makes you see the reality of actually doing it. And that book helped me realize that for the first time, like we talked about, you wear many hats as a business owner. So it talked about being a technician and being actually hands-on, but more than being a technician, you're also the person who puts teams together. You're collaborating, you're marketing, you're doing many different things. So E-Myths Revisited, that's a good book. Next book is The Art of Negotiation. So I recommend reading that one. I believe it's by Chris Voss. Art of Negotiation is just all about, how to talk to people and not meeting in the middle, right? Not splitting a difference, but coming up with, different negotiation strategies that's going to help everybody, both parties, get the best side of a deal, in an agreement. So that book really just helped my communication skills. It just really got me to communicate better with other people, to kind of break down, okay, why does this person want to work with me? Okay, and so how can I give back? And from that, we're able to put together a plan and able to knock out that project. So that's a book that I'm probably going to read again here soon, just because it's one of those books you read it through once, it's like, okay, you just want to run it back. So those two books are very solid. I mentioned my favorite podcast is How I Built This by Guy Raz. There's a book called How I Built This. Basically 10 plus businesses and businesses about. I believe Instagram is in there, and other businesses, not just tech companies, but brick and mortar. I think the Chipotle's in that book as well. It's basically the stories of those businesses, how the founders started it, and kind of the hardships that they encountered along the way before they reached success. So I love breaking down that book because it really shows you that every, multi-million dollar company really just started in one place with one or two, or a handful of people, and it kind of what steps they took to make it to where they are today. Man, another book I've been reading is Talking to Strangers, and that one is all about, I love talking to strangers because that's all about communicating with people who are different than you are, right? Who grew up in different environments, different backgrounds, different stories, different interests, and how what you bring to the table and what the other person may bring to the table based on their individual circumstances, they could see conversations and they can see the same thing per se, but in a different light. And that book in particular talked about Sandra Bland and her incident with the police officer a few years back, how that altercation started, what the officer could have did differently, what she could have did differently, and how their backgrounds led them to that pivotal point that ended tragically. Talked about Hitler, talked about how he was able to deceive so many people, but at the same time get so many people to join his side, and how his conversations and how his outward appearance were different from what he thought internally and mentally. So that really helped me see, my conversations and the way that I interacted people in a different light. And that always, because of that book, I just always try to put myself in each person's shoes, and it taught me not to judge based on just what my eyes are seeing, and not to judge based on based on the way the person's looking at you, the way they're talking. Sometimes we just subconsciously, we do these things and we judge people, but it's like, take a step back, have that conversation, and from the conversation, putting two and two together to really try to build out in your mind, who do you think that next person is, and especially if that next person is somebody you don't know. So man, that's a crazy book. That's a good one. I recommend. Other book, Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. That book is just really all about not letting your doubts stop you from doing what you want to do. It's one of those books that's just like, at the end of the day, it's like, bro, just do it. If you don't do it, no one else is going to do it. And a book that's kind of like that and similar kind of tone is The War on Art, Why Resistance is one of the hardest things to break through, and what's on the other side of resistance, what you've been resisting. It's that beautiful piece of work that only you can make, that had you just had the power or the discipline to get through that wall, now the world gets to benefit from it because you didn't stop before, you didn't stop when it got too hard, And so, man, I can keep going, but those are the books right there. I'm gonna leave it at that because those really, really impacted me.
those are definitely a lot of books, and I've read a few of them, but I'm definitely gonna check out the rest of that. So I'm messing around and have to go hit up the bookstore after this, or what's that Audible.
Yeah. Get an Audible subscription. I got an Audible subscription. Write it off as a business expense, and so I've been doing a lot of audio reading. I feel like you retain more information when you actually read it, but if you just want to listen to it while you're driving, you just burn through books quicker. And also, I recommend when you on Audible, you listen to it. I always try to least, in my mind, listening to an audiobook twice is like reading the book through once. So I always just try to run it back. But I'm glad you mentioned that. Shout out Audible. Use my discount code. I was playing. If only.
So, man, we talked about so much on this podcast, and man, I don't want to be like biased or like nothing, but man, this is like my favorite one.
Oh man,
thus far as man, it's so informative. Like man, if you want to be a DJ, you an up and coming videographer, anything in that realm. If you don't watch this listen and watch this podcast and take some information and like level up, it's seriously something going on with you. But look, so man, DG, you gotta tell us, what do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years, besides like in this mansion, like on a yacht or something?
Honestly, more bigger than being in a mansion and a yacht in the next 5 to 10 years, regardless of where you are watching or listening to this podcast. DG, I hope to be in a city near you. I hope to be able to DJ where you're at. I hope to be able to come through, pull up, shoot a video in your city where you're at. Like if I'm there, that means it's a function, something's going down, it's lit, So if I'm around, then I'm hoping that, in 5 years, if I'm near you and it's a party, it's a video, and it's going down, then I'm doing something right, because I'm making my rounds and getting places.
I seen on social media, you was in a boat, and then I seen like the name of the company somewhere in the picture, and so I was like, oh my God, this dude has a sponsored post. And I'm like, and I know some people might, well, what's the big deal about that? First of all, this guy's got that on a local level. It's one thing to be a big super name and then you get sponsored by, BMW or something. It's a whole nother thing when you on the local level, a small business, and then a company actually. So you got to tell me about that story, because when I see that's like, man, I got to know about that.
That's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up. So really, the story behind that is also the story that's related to what we talked about earlier with business relationships. So Godfrey Pontoons, Godfrey Marine, Godfrey Hurricane are the two. It's the name of the business. And I've been doing some work with their marketing director back when I was helping out with some video projects at the Chamber of Commerce. So this goes back to relationships. Her name is Melissa. She used to work at the Elkhart Chamber of Commerce. I did some videos for the chamber. She eventually leaves the chamber and works for that boat company. And now, since she's a marketing director there, she knows my business. She knows I do good work. She actually brought me on to do some video projects for Godfrey. So that's actually the big client that I'm working with a project with in the next month, and I hope to continue that relationship for years down the road. And basically, because I did great work for them, they were working on an ad campaign for some brand new boats. And I'll be honest with you, what they were looking for is they want more diversity behind the wheel of a boat. And they wanted someone who was young, who was of color, and can look like they're having fun in the boat. And I feel like she thought that I met those criteria, so she had me come out. So here's the truth about those, paid ad and sponsorships. It wasn't a lot of money involved. It was $200, but at the same time, the chance to ride a boat for the first time was priceless. To get those pictures and be able to have those frameable pictures, like it's worth every penny. And they actually didn't say that I had to post that, but because I was so thankful that they invited me to shoot that video, that I just had to give them free publicity on my social media, tell everybody, hey, check out Godfrey, check out what we doing.
And not to mention, you definitely look like you had a bunch of fun too. I mean, you were smiling from ear to ear. So
It was a good time. That smile was real. I tell you what.
hey, I like fishing. So, I love to go out on the boat, get some good content for you. Just throwing out
I'll keep you posted, man.
But yeah, man, this has been great. So I don't want to just lead the people like this, man. Like, if like lead the people with something like inspirational. Now, first off, the whole podcast has been inspirational. Mm-hmm. But for whatever reason, if somebody felt like, man, I ain't really getting that. I lead the people with something.
Yeah. I'm gonna lead the people with the motto and how I lead my life, and that's turning visions into reality. So I'll just lead the people with this. If there's a vision and there's something in your mind and your heart that you want to showcase, that you want to give back to the world, then absolutely pursue it. And if you have a vision and you're willing to pursue it and work with others in that pursuit, then anything, I believe, is possible. I mean, you ain't gonna, not everything is possible, but you'll be surprised on where you go if you're willing to just take that leap and take those steps and believe in yourself.